Now we can expect Governor Schwarzenegger to go on the road, spinning his budget as necessary reform and shared sacrifice. When he does, we need to be there. CSEA members, seniors, students, parents, and other union members telling the truth. Because the truth is, big oil companies are not sharing the sacrifice. They're reaping record profits, while California remains the only state in the nation that does not tax oil drilled from our soil. Hollywood movie companies are not sharing the sacrifice. They received a $100 million tax break in the governor's February budget. Millionaires are not sharing the sacrifice. They pay less in taxes today than they did when Pete Wilson was governor. Governor Schwarzenegger operates based on his own golden rule. He who has the gold rules. When Governor Schwarzenegger goes on his True Lies tour, CSEA Truth Squads will be there to greet him. We dogged Arnold before, and we will dog Arnold again.
Yay! Yay!
We need to tell the public the truth. We need to put a human face on these budget cuts, and we need to hold the governor accountable for the real pain inflicted by his budget. And as bad as this budget is, if Governor Schwarzenegger had his way, it would have been even worse. CSEA was able to work with our allies in the legislature and negotiate improvements. Governor Schwarzenegger proposed to cut home-to-school transportation by 65%. CSEA responded, you responded, by going to the Capitol, circling the state Capitol with buses, and telling the truth about endangering the lives of students who would be forced to walk along busy roads populated by child predators, and because you fought back, we reduced that cut to 20% and saved hundreds of classified jobs. We also negotiated a payback of the maintenance factor for education, $11.2 billion. We stopped the suspension of Proposition 98. And this maintenance factor payback, which will kick in when the economy improves, can be spent to restore the cuts to classified employees, to programs, to teachers, to students, and restore the education dream in California. The education budget also authorizes school districts to spend their reserves below 3% without penalty in order to save jobs. Cuts to education will also be mitigated by the federal stimulus money. President Obama has approved over $10 billion in federal stimulus funds for California, and we have already received over $4 billion. Without these funds, the education budget cuts would be far worse, and thousands more jobs would be lost. The fact is, President Obama has done more to save our state in 6 months than Governor Schwarzenegger has in 6 years.
Yay! Viva Obama!
So to everyone who went out of state and walked precincts, to everyone who stayed in California and phone banked and talked to voters, to everyone who worked hard and voted for change, thank you for electing Barack Obama.
Yay! Viva Obama!
President Obama has stated that the purpose of his package is to stimulate the economy, prevent layoffs, and create jobs. CSEA has been working to get letters from the U.S. Secretary of Education and our friend, U.S. Secretary of Labor, Hilda Solis, to clearly state this goal to every California school district. Governmental Relations has sent out resource packets to the field to help monitor and enforce this goal. School districts need to know that stimulus money should not be put in reserve, it should not be set aside, it should be spent now to save good middle-class classified jobs.
Yay! I'm going to put in YouTube.
Okay, good.
At the CSEA Legislative Conference, during Lobby Day, our CSEA Executive Board met with Senate President Pro Tem Darrell Steinberg. At this meeting, our first Vice President, Alan Clark, told Senator Steinberg that his school district was building a double-digit reserve, but still laying off classified employees. Senator Steinberg responded by volunteering to write letters to his district and any district that was holding an excessive reserve and cutting classified employees. I hold in my hand a stack of letters. Let me read some of this letter to you. It has come to my attention that numerous school districts throughout California are showing reluctance to use reserve funds to help lessen program cuts and mitigate layoffs. As I'm sure you know, the Reserve for Economic Uncertainties is established to ensure the ability of the district to meet its obligations in the event of declining revenues and/or unexpected expenditures. During this time of fiscal duress for all of us, the legislature and the governor have acted to set aside mandatory minimum reserve requirements through 2012-2013. Wow. I believe that the economic environment and our current budget situation make for compelling reasons to make wise use of reserves to protect our students and maintain our educational programs. During these extraordinarily troubling fiscal times, I urge you to consider tapping into this source of funds as circumstances allow. In addition, school districts throughout California have begun receiving additional federal funds for special education and the education of poor children, as well as fiscal stabilization monies that are intended to offset budget reductions made at the state level. I urge you to use these, as President Obama has said they are intended to prevent education job losses that would harm both our students and our economy. I have 70 of these letters. They went to school board presidents, superintendents of schools, college chancellors identified by CSEA, and the President Pro Tem of the Senate has urged them to spend down reserves, stop layoffs, and save jobs.
Yay! Yay!
We need to hold elected officials accountable at every level of government. Whether it's the governor, the legislature, the school board, we need to hold them to the priorities and promises they make when they ran for office. If you run for office and you say you support public education, you cannot then vote to cut education by $18 billion. Our CSEA Legislator of the Year, Assemblyman Sandre Swanson, stood up for his values. He refused to vote for a budget in February that cut funding for our public schools. He refused to vote for a budget that outsourced jobs. He refused to vote for a budget that repealed state employee holidays and overtime rights. Assemblyman Sandre Swanson stood up for workers, and for that, he was stripped of his chairmanship of the Assembly Labor Committee. Someone once said, if you want a friend in politics, get a dog. Well, let me tell you something. CSEA values friendship. CSEA values loyalty. CSEA values integrity. Assemblyman Swanson, you stood with us, and CSEA will always stand with you. Thank you. Too many politicians get elected, go to Sacramento or Washington, D.C., and forget the values and principles on which they ran. When they return home, they need to be constantly reminded by you of the impact of their decisions. Every school district, when they're making cuts, should attach the local legislator's name and phone number to those cuts. After-school sports eliminated, courtesy of Assemblyman Sam Blakesley. School bus services cut, courtesy of Senator Dennis Hollingsworth. I didn't just get furloughed, I just got Senator Roy Ash burned. We need to put a human face on every cut, and we need to put a human face in every legislator's local office. Because budgets are not about numbers on a balance sheet. Budgets are about real people with real families. Budgets are about real students with real dreams. Budgets are about real seniors who need real health care. So if we want to restore the California dream, if we want to provide hope and a future for our children and our grandchildren, if we want to provide a quality education, a good job, and a secure retirement, then we need to stand up. We need to turn apathy into anger, and anger into action. We need to elect more legislators like Sandre Swanson. We need to sign up more Victory Club members. We need to elect Corrado Shimada and Kathy Hackett to the PERS board, and we need to elect a pro-labor, pro-education governor of the state of California.
Yay!